Gunshots echoed through the night. His gang scattered, leaving him alone. Ethan jumped over a fence, fell badly, and injured his leg. Crawling into the bush, he hid there for hours, trembling from pain and fear. By morning, he staggered to an abandoned building. For the first time, he felt completely empty. "Who am I?" he whispered. He didn't feel like a Williams. He didn't know Grace. He didn't even know himself. 3 days later, there was a weak knock on Grace's door. When she opened it, she froze. Ethan stood there, dirty, bleeding, limping, and exhausted. "More. I don't know where else to go," he whispered and collapsed at her feet. Grace gasped. But to truly understand how this moment came to be, we must return to the very beginning. In the busy capital city of Abuja, 2 women were in the same hospital on the same night. One was Mrs. Grace Adams, a poor widow who had just lost her husband a month earlier. She was scared, lonely, and praying for a safe delivery. When her baby finally arrived, she was too weak and tired to even see the child clearly before the nurses carried the baby away for cleaning. Not far away, in the VIP section, Mrs. Laura Williams, wife of billionaire Mr. Thompson Williams, had just delivered too, but her baby was a girl, not the son her family wanted. The Williams family believed strongly in tradition: a son must carry the family name. When Laura heard that another woman in the same hospital had given birth to a boy, a terrible plan formed in her mind. Late that night, Mrs. Williams called 2 nurses secretly. She offered them a large amount of money, expensive gifts, and promised to get them better jobs. Her words were cold: "My husband must not know I delivered a girl. Switch my baby with the boy." The greedy nurses agreed. Grace Adams had already fallen into a deep sleep from tiredness and pain. Mrs. Williams pretended to sleep. Quietly, the nurses carried out the wicked exchange. The boy went to the rich family. The girl went to the poor widow. By morning, 2 destinies had been stolen. When morning came, Grace Adams woke up weak but joyful. She asked, "Please, can I see my baby?" The nurses placed the baby girl in her arms, smiling as if nothing had happened. Grace believed completely that this was the child she had given birth to the night before. Grace named the baby Ariel and carried her home with pride. She didn't know her real baby, her son, was in the hands of another woman. She didn't know someone had stolen her destiny. In the Williams mansion, the atmosphere was different. Mrs. Williams carried the baby boy proudly and named him Ethan Williams, the heir to the family name. Mr. Williams danced, laughed, and called friends to celebrate, happy that he finally had a son. Servants cared for Ethan day and night. He received expensive toys, gold bracelets, and a nursery filled with everything a child could ever want. No one, not even Mr. Williams, knew the dark truth behind the baby's arrival. Ariel grew up in a tiny rented room in the crowded streets of Abuja. Grace worked as a cleaner, washed people's clothes, farmed on small land in Cuch, and even sold her favorite wrapper just to buy milk and school books for Ariel. Still, Ariel was full of light. She smiled easily, learned quickly, and always helped her mother without complaint. Even as a child, people said, "This girl is special." Ethan grew up surrounded by wealth, but his heart grew darker. Whenever he cried, his parents rushed to spoil him. When he broke things, they replaced them immediately. If servants corrected him, they were fired. By the time Ethan turned 10, he was already stubborn and disrespectful. He took what didn't belong to him, lied without blinking, and didn't care about school. The seed of trouble was already growing. As Ariel entered secondary school, her brilliance shone like the Abuja sun. She topped every subject, especially mathematics and physics. She fixed broken fans, helped teachers, and even created small machines from plastic bottles and wire. When a Nigerian oil company came to award scholarships to the smartest students in the city, Ariel's name came first. Grace cried tears of joy. Ariel, "The world will know your name one day," she whispered. Meanwhile, Ethan was moving from bad to worse. He joined dangerous friends, smoked marijuana, Indian hemp, cocaine, opiates, anything he could find. He mixed drugs with alcohol and became violent. He stole his mother's gold necklace and sold it. He dropped out of school and joined a gang. His parents paid police officers several times to free him from trouble. His name spread everywhere, the rich boy who steals. Shame followed the Williams family like a shadow. Ariel gained admission into the University of Lagos to study mechanical engineering. Many people said this course is too hard for girls, but Ariel worked harder than everyone else. She won awards, built robots, and made machines that amazed her lecturers. When she graduated with first class, the oil company sponsored her again, this time to the United States to study robotics and advanced mechanical systems, a course that produces world-famous engineers. In the US, Ariel became a global sensation. She created a robotic arm for disabled children, and the invention touched millions of people. Big companies wanted her. Children wrote letters saying she inspired them. Then the big news came. United States Global Network wanted to interview her live. When the Williams family saw Ariel's face on TV, they froze. She looked exactly like Mrs. Williams' late grandmother, same eyes, same smile. Something impossible was becoming too real. The truth was beginning to rise. Mr. Williams stared at the TV, confused and troubled. "Laura, look at her eyes. Look at her face. Does she not look like your grandmother, Mama Claire?" he asked quietly. Mrs. Williams swallowed hard. She saw it too, the shape of the nose, the curve of the smile, the calm confidence. It all matched her family line. Ethan stood behind them, arms folded, angry that the world was praising a stranger. "So what if she looks like someone?" he snapped and switched off the TV. But something had already planted itself in his parents' hearts, doubt. Haunted by what he saw, Mr. Williams began searching through old files in their home office. He opened dusty folders, one after another, until he found something strange. A discharge paper from the hospital with a blurry note, "Baby girl, Williams." He froze. "Baby girl," he whispered. "But we brought home a boy." Mrs. Williams tried to snatch the paper away, but it was too late. The truth was whispering loudly now, echoing in every corner of their mansion. That night, Mrs. Williams couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, remembering the nurses, the money, the hurried whispers. She heard her own voice again, "Switch my baby with the boy." Her heart pounded heavily. For the first time in years, guilt stabbed her like a knife. What if Ariel is my real child? What if I destroyed her life? She whispered into the darkness. But a sharper fear followed. What if the truth comes out? Meanwhile in the US, Ariel's fame grew even brighter. She presented her invention at a global technology conference. Cameras flashed. People clapped. Children hugged her and said she was their hero. Emails flooded her inbox, job offers, invitations, scholarships. One company even offered her a chance to lead a new robotics research center. Ariel felt like she was living a dream, but still, she never forgot her mother back in Abuja. Back in Nigeria, Ethan's life grew darker. His gang became violent. They robbed people, fought other gangs, and carried dangerous weapons. Ethan, now their leader, became feared in many parts of Abuja. He sold the family's second car, then a third, then land. When his father confronted him, Ethan shouted, pushed him, and stormed out. He even stole his mother's gold wedding ring. The Williams name began to rot. Mr. Williams finally decided that he needed answers. Without telling his wife, he took a strand of Ethan's hair and secretly sent it for a DNA test. His heart beat fast for days. He didn't know what to expect. When the results arrived, his hands trembled as he opened the envelope. The words inside shook his entire world. Paternity test result, 0% match. Ethan was not his son. Mrs. Williams saw her husband sitting on the floor with the paper in his hand. She knew instantly what it was. She broke down crying. She confessed everything, how she bribed the nurses, how she demanded a son, how she switched the babies. Mr. Williams stared at her in shock, disbelief, and heartbreak. "Laura, how could you? How could you steal another woman's child? How could you destroy ours?" His voice broke as tears filled his eyes. The Williams family hired private investigators to find out what happened to the baby girl who had been switched. It didn't take long for them to connect the dots. The investigators returned with a file containing photos, documents, and school records. At the top of the file was a picture of Ariel Adams, smiling brightly in her scholarship award portrait. Mrs. Williams held the picture, tears running down her cheeks. "My daughter," she whispered for the first time. Grace was at home washing clothes when someone knocked on her door. 2 investigators stood outside. "We need to speak with you about your daughter," they said gently. Grace's heart tightened in fear. "Is she okay?" she asked shakily. They explained the situation slowly. How there had been a switch. How Ariel was actually the biological daughter of the wealthy Williams family. How Grace's real child was a boy. Grace felt the world spin around her. "My child, my son," she whispered, falling to her knees in shock and tears. Ariel rushed back to Nigeria the moment she heard there was an emergency. She didn't know the full story yet. All she knew was that her mother was crying and needed her. When she arrived at the airport, she hugged Grace tightly, noticing how scared she looked. Grace held Ariel's hands and whispered, "My child, something happened the day you were born." Ariel's heart began to pound. She didn't know it yet, but her entire life was about to change. The truth was waiting, and it would shake everything. The Williams family asked to meet Grace and Ariel privately in a quiet conference room at a law firm in Abuja. The room felt heavy, like the air was holding its breath. Ariel held her mother's hand tightly while Mr. Williams looked nervous and ashamed. When Ariel entered, Mrs. Williams burst into tears. She stood up slowly and whispered, "Ariel, I am your biological mother." Ariel's heart stopped. Grace trembled beside her. Nothing felt real anymore. Mr. Williams explained everything from the beginning. The birth records. The secret payment. The DNA test. The investigators. And the truth they had hidden for so many years. Ariel listened quietly, her hands shaking. When Mrs. Williams finished, she knelt before Ariel and cried. "I was wrong. I stole your life. I took you from the mother who loved you. Please forgive me." Ariel stepped back, confused, hurt, and overwhelmed. At home. Grace hugged her tightly, giving her strength. Ariel sat in silence, trying to understand everything. She felt like her whole world was breaking apart. "So all my life, everything I knew, was a lie," she whispered. Tears ran down her cheeks. Grace held her close. "No, my child. My love for you was never a lie. Nothing changes that." Ariel leaned into her mother's arms and cried. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel smart, brave, or confident. She felt lost. While the meeting was happening, Ethan came home to find his parents crying. When they told him the truth, that he wasn't their real child, that he was born to a poor widow, he exploded with anger. "So I'm nothing to you? After everything I suffered?" He broke the TV, smashed plates, and stormed out of the house. He returned to his gang and promised revenge on everyone who had made him feel unwanted. Instead of changing, he fell deeper into darkness. The Williams family filed a case in court claiming they had the right to take Ariel back as their biological daughter. Newspapers carried the story. Radio stations discussed it. Social media exploded with opinions. Ariel was shocked. They want to take me away from my mother. She held Grace's hands tightly. Grace's voice was gentle but firm. My daughter, no matter what happens, you are my child in every way that matters. People in Abuja began arguing about the case. Some said Ariel belonged to the Williams family because of blood. Others said she belonged to Grace because of love. TV shows interviewed lawyers, mothers, and psychologists. Meanwhile, Ariel felt torn in two. Everywhere she went, people took pictures, whispered, or stared. She wished she could hide from the world. Journalists dug into the past. Eventually, they uncovered the truth about how Mrs. Williams bribed nurses to switch the babies. They interviewed hospital workers, found old logs, and even located one of the nurses who confessed everything. Nigeria was shocked. Headlines screamed. Baby switched for money. Nurse confesses in Abuja hospital scandal. The nation's heart broke for Ariel and Grace. United States Global Network contacted Ariel again and asked for an interview about the situation. Ariel agreed, hoping her words might calm the storm. When the cameras turned on, she spoke softly but clearly. I love Grace Adams. She raised me, protected me, and sacrificed everything for me. She is my mother. I respect the Williams family, but I cannot forget the pain their actions caused. Millions of people cried watching her. The day of the court hearing arrived. Reporters crowded the entrance. Security guarded every door. Inside the courtroom, Ariel sat between her lawyers and Grace. The Williams family sat across the room, looking nervous and ashamed. The judge listened to hours of testimony, Grace's sacrifices, Ariel's achievements, the DNA results, the nurses' confessions, and the Williams family's lies. Every detail shook the courtroom like a storm. At the end of the hearing, the judge stood up and read his ruling. His voice was firm. Biology does not make a parent. Love, sacrifice, and dedication do. Ariel Adams will legally remain with the woman who raised her. Grace Adams is her rightful mother. Gasps filled the room. Grace burst into tears and hugged Ariel tightly. Ariel cried too, this time with relief, love, and freedom in her heart. The Williams family sat in silence, defeated by the truth. Ethan wandered the streets of Abuja like a man with nothing left to lose. The truth of his birth sat on his chest like a heavy stone. His gang noticed the change in him. He became more violent, more reckless, and more desperate. He began starting fights for no reason, shouting at strangers, and picking dangerous battles with rival gangs. Even his closest friends started stepping back from him. At home, the Williams mansion felt cold and broken. Mr. Williams sat alone most nights, staring at family photos. Mrs. Williams cried silently in her room, guilt tearing her apart. Ethan stopped coming home completely. He felt betrayed, abandoned, and unwanted by both families. Ariel stayed by Grace's side after the court victory. The two of them returned to their humble home in Abuja, trying to rebuild a sense of peace. Grace cooked Ariel's favorite meals, and Ariel helped repair old appliances in the neighborhood. Even though the media attention was still overwhelming, Ariel focused on her work and her mother. Companies from around the world kept emailing her, offering jobs and research positions. But Ariel wasn't ready to leave Nigeria yet. I need to breathe, she told Grace one evening. Grace simply held her hand and whispered, you have time. Your destiny will wait for you. After the court case, the Williams family withdrew from public life. They avoided interviews, events, and business meetings. Mr. Williams stepped down temporarily from his company to protect their reputation. They knew the nation was angry with them. Their neighbors avoided eye contact. Some workers resigned out of shame. Mrs. Williams wrote long letters to Ariel but did not send them. In each letter she apologized, begged for forgiveness, and admitted that her selfish desire for a male heir had destroyed everything. She hoped that one day Ariel might speak to her again. One night, Ethan and his gang attempted a robbery at a luxury estate. But this time, the police were already waiting. Gunshots echoed through the night. His gang scattered, leaving him alone. Ethan jumped over a fence, fell badly, and injured his leg. Crawling into the bush, he hid there for hours, trembling from pain and fear. By morning, he staggered to an abandoned building. For the first time, he felt completely empty. "Who am I?" he whispered. He didn't feel like a Williams. He didn't know Grace. He didn't even know himself. 3 days later, there was a weak knock on Grace's door. When she opened it, she froze. Ethan stood there, dirty, bleeding, limping, and exhausted. "More. I don't know where else to go," he whispered and collapsed at her feet. Grace gasped. Ariel rushed forward and helped carry him inside. Despite everything, Grace's heart softened. She cleaned his wounds, cooked food, and let him sleep. Ariel watched quietly, unsure how to feel. After all, this broken young man was now her brother. When Ethan woke up, he found Ariel sitting beside him, arms folded, eyes sharp. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "You're the girl who took my life," Ethan muttered bitterly. Ariel stared at him. "I didn't take anything. We were both victims." Her voice was calm but firm. Ethan looked away, ashamed. Something about her confidence made him feel even smaller. He had never met anyone like her. Grace entered the room with food. "Eat," she said gently. Ethan obeyed like a child. For the first time in years, he felt cared for without judgment. Mr. Williams heard from a neighbor that Ethan was staying with Grace. He drove there quietly and watched from afar as Grace stepped outside to hang clothes. When she noticed him, she hesitated, but he approached slowly, tears in his eyes. "I wanted to be a father to him," he whispered. "But I failed. And now he won't come home." Grace sighed deeply. "He needs healing, not punishment." Mr. Williams nodded, wiping his eyes. "Grace, thank you for helping the son we didn't raise well." The next day, Mrs. Williams arrived at Grace's house. She looked thinner, weaker, and broken by guilt. Ariel stood outside, unsure why she had come. Mrs. Williams fell to her knees immediately. "Ariel, please forgive me. I have nightmares every night. I only wanted a son, but I destroyed your life. Please." Ariel gently helped her stand. "I may forgive you one day," she said softly. "But the pain you caused will take time to heal." Mrs. Williams nodded, tears streaming. She knew she deserved nothing less. Ethan overheard everything, the guilt, the tears, the broken voices of the Williams family outside. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of what both families had suffered. He stepped outside slowly, limping, but his eyes were clearer. I need help," he whispered. Mr. Williams rushed to him, but Ethan held up a hand. "Not from you. Not yet. Let me start with myself." Grace placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Wherever you begin, we will not turn away from you." Ethan nodded shakily. For the first time, he felt hope. That evening, Ariel stood outside under the Abuja sunset, thinking deeply. Her life had changed forever: family, identity, destiny. She looked at Grace, Ethan, and even the Williams family trying to mend themselves. She realized something important. "My story isn't just about engineering or fame," she whispered. "It's about healing what was broken." The next morning, Ariel announced her decision. "I will stay in Nigeria for 1 more year. I'm starting a foundation to help children who come from broken homes." Grace smiled with pride. Ethan managed a small smile too. And somewhere deep inside Ariel's heart, destiny began to heal. Ethan woke up early the next morning, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: clarity. He sat on the small bench outside Grace's house, thinking. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about drugs, gangs, or running. He was thinking about survival and change. Grace stepped outside quietly. "You didn't sleep?" she asked softly. Ethan shook his head. "I want to get clean, Ma. I don't want to die in the street. I don't want to be the shame of two families." Grace sat beside him, her motherly warmth wrapping around him like soft cloth. "Then let us start today," she whispered. Ariel stood by the doorway, watching him. She did not fully trust him yet, but she could see the spark of sincerity in his eyes. "Change begins with one small step," she said calmly. "And you've already taken it." Ethan lowered his head. "I'm scared." "You're human," Ariel replied. "We all are." For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to cry, not angry tears, but tears of someone who finally wanted something good. Grace called a counselor she knew from church, a woman who worked with troubled youths. Within hours, the counselor arrived and spoke privately with Ethan. "You will need detox," she said gently. "It won't be easy. Your body will fight. Your mind will resist. But if you truly want freedom, you must endure." Ethan nodded, bracing himself. Ariel prepared a small room for him, removing sharp objects, cleaning, arranging water and light food. Although she didn't say it out loud, her actions showed support. On the first night of detox, Ethan shook violently. Sweat poured from his body. His muscles cramped. Pain crawled through his veins. Grace held his hand, whispering, "You are not alone." Ariel stayed awake too, watching from the doorway. When Ethan's breathing became rough, she stepped closer and placed a cool cloth on his forehead. For the first time, the two victims, separated by destiny, united by suffering, shared a silent bond. By morning, Ethan had survived the worst part. He looked at Ariel with weak eyes. "Thank you, sister." Ariel froze for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Keep fighting. Don't stop." While Ethan fought his battles, Mrs. Williams faced hers. The scandal had ruined the family name. Reporters camped outside their mansion. Former friends ignored her. People whispered behind her at supermarkets. One day, she decided she could not hide anymore. She held a press conference, not to defend herself, but to confess openly. Her voice trembled as she stood before cameras. "I destroyed 2 innocent lives. I bribed nurses. I forced a destiny that was never mine to control. I apologized to Nigeria, to Grace Adams, to Ariel Adams, and to Ethan, the boy I raised but failed." The entire nation was stunned. Some people insulted her. Some cried. Some prayed for her. But everyone saw the sincerity in her eyes. That night, Mr. Williams held her hand. "You did the right thing," he whispered. For the first time, they felt peace slowly returning to their home. Ariel began working on her vision, the Healing Hands Foundation, a program to help children from broken homes, children abandoned by families, and teenagers struggling like Ethan once did. She partnered with NGOs, engineers, counselors, and churches. Grace helped organize the community outreach. Even Mr. Williams offered to fund the project, but Ariel gently declined. "Let me build this with my own hands first," she said. Still, he donated anonymously through a charity, wanting to support her without interfering. Ariel's foundation started small, only 20 children in one center in Abuja. But the moment she walked into the room, children ran to her, hugging her, calling her Ariel Auntie. She knelt among them, smiling, her voice warm. "No child is born broken. You all have beautiful futures." The world began to see a new side of her, not just as a genius engineer, but as a healer. 2 weeks after detox, Ethan stood outside under the evening sun, breathing fresh air. He looked healthier. Stronger. His eyes were clearer. He approached Ariel slowly. "I need to say something," he said. Ariel looked up from her paperwork. "I'm listening." "I blamed you for everything," Ethan said quietly. "But it wasn't your fault. We were both cheated. We both lost something precious. But you didn't give up on me even when I didn't deserve it." Ariel closed her book and turned fully toward him. "You hurt a lot of people, Ethan," she said gently. "But you're trying to change. That matters." He nodded, swallowing emotion. Then he surprised her with a simple, powerful sentence. "Thank you for being my sister." Ariel's eyes softened. For the first time, she smiled at him without hesitation. "Welcome to a new beginning," she said. And in that moment, something inside Ethan, something dark and heavy, finally let go. Mr. Williams sat alone in his study late at night, staring at old pictures of Ethan, birthdays, school plays, football matches. Even though Ethan was not his biological son, Mr. Williams felt a deep ache knowing how badly the boy had suffered. He picked up his phone and dialed Grace's number. "Good evening, sir," Grace said respectfully. "I want to see Ethan," he replied quietly. "Not as a rich man, not as the man who raised him, but as someone who failed him." Grace agreed. The next day, Mr. Williams visited their modest home. Ethan hesitated at first, then stepped out into the sitting room. "You look stronger," Mr. Williams said. Ethan lowered his gaze. "I'm trying." Mr. Williams cleared his throat, emotion shaking his voice. "I'm sorry, son. I should have protected you. I should have guided you. You deserved better." For the first time in years, Ethan hugged him. It was a silent hug, filled with pain, forgiveness, and a long overdue reconciliation. While Ariel continued building her foundation, an unexpected email arrived. "We would like to feature you as one of the top 30 under 30 humanitarian innovators in Africa." Ariel read it twice. Grace ran to her and hugged her. "My daughter. Look at how far you've come." Ariel smiled shyly. "It's just recognition, the real work is what matters." But the award meant more than she realized. It placed her foundation on the global map. Supporters began reaching out. Churches, schools, and even international donors offered help. Ethan watched all this with admiration. "You're really changing lives," he said one evening. Ariel looked at him. "We are all changing. Even you." Ethan looked away, but a small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. He was beginning to believe in himself. One afternoon, Mr. Williams called for a meeting at his lawyer's office. Grace, Ariel, Ethan, and Mrs. Williams attended. The lawyer opened a document. "This is Mr. Williams' updated will." Everyone grew silent. He had divided his estate into 3 parts. 1 part to Mrs. Williams. 1 part to support Ariel's foundation. And 1 part to Ethan, not because of blood, but because of love. Ethan was stunned. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. Mr. Williams placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are my son. Not by blood, but by bond." Ariel felt tears sting her eyes. Grace held her chest, touched beyond words. Mrs. Williams also nodded. "He is right. Family is not just biology." This moment sealed a new beginning for all of them. Ethan was slowly recovering, but the road was far from smooth. One evening, while walking home from a counseling session, he saw 3 boys from his old crew leaning by a shop. "Ethan," they called out. "Where you dey run go? We get new deal. Easy money." For a moment, Ethan froze. The old life called to him like a familiar shadow. His hands even trembled slightly. "You know you fit come back anytime," one boy said. "No need form, holy boy." Ethan inhaled deeply. Ethan stared at the men standing before him, the same faces from a life he had fought so hard to escape. The past was calling, loud and unforgiving. To be continued. Please like and subscribe. This channel is new, but the story is powerful. What you just watched is only a small part of a deeper, emotional African folktale about ambition, sacrifice, and consequences. Subscribe now so you don't miss the full video dropping by 10 a.m. on Sunday, 28 December 2025. Like to support my hard work. Comment if you believe dreams should never be built on darkness. Your support means everything. Let's grow together.